second episode today. If you tuned in earlier, talked about 25 minutes about the Premier League schedule release. We'll talk a little bit probably about that with our guest today. Plus Money's back here. Remember, we have a new promotion for new users of Caesars Sportsbook. Wager up to $1,500 on your first bet. If you win, congrats. If you don't, you get that amount back as a free bet to use on your next wager. Video winners 15. You have to use that promo code. Remember, we said, listen, we got to get them some special deals. They're coming on this show. And we want some special deals. Make sure you're following Max Wagers Network all day. And remember, every show is on the Max Wagers Network YouTube now. So we'll bring in AM Plus Money. Make sure you follow him on Twitter. My Twitter's at the Prodigal Sean. Did you see any of were you watching some of those Brazilian games last night? I actually, I don't really get a lot of chance at night to do stuff, but I was flipping around and I was watching some of the games. Saw Defensa y Justica on some of these other teams. Did you get a chance to watch any games last night?
I didn't watch any of the ones last night, but I'll definitely be watching the ones this weekend. But I've had a pretty jam-packed week so far. But
it's crazy. I wish I could watch a couple of games. I watched a little bit of the hockey game as well. I don't even know what the final score was, to be honest with you. I know it was 3-1. I turned it off.
Yeah, so it was 3-1, and then the Lightning tied at 3-3, and then they stayed tied for about a period. And then nobody scored in the third, went to overtime. Colorado won it a minute in.
Wow.
With the very weak one-timer shot.
A
lot of fluky goals in that game, I will say that, by both sides.
Yeah, Stanley Cup finals are weird, especially that first game. I mean, you got to imagine these, maybe Tampa Bay, but, Colorado hasn't been there in 100 years, so probably a little nerves. Still the Stanley Cup finals, but
interestingly enough, Colorado is 2-0 in their history when making it to the Stanley Cup finals. So every time they've been there, only twice, they've won it every time. Just like Real Madrid in the Champions League final.
1996 and 2001, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
That Real Madrid stat is the craziest stat. I mean,
I think it's 8-0 now, right?
Yeah, in the new look. I mean, they've never lost. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if they've ever lost it when they've gotten to a final, which is absolutely ridiculous. But that's even more reason to have bet on them in that game. They find the luck of the Madrid or whatever it is. So they, I don't know if you're in Vancouver. You said, right?
No, I'm in Ontario.
So basically schedule release the same thing, 4 a.m. for you. Did you get a chance to look at the Premier League schedule at all for the opening weekend?
I did catch a few of the games, but I didn't I don't really look that far ahead.
Okay.
Because obviously transfer window and all that stuff. But there's definitely some interesting matchups. I saw Crystal Palace is taking on Arsenal for the very first.
Yeah, that's I thought that was pretty interesting. And they put odds up already, which is interesting. We talked a little bit about it this morning, but just for everybody here who didn't get a chance to look at these fixtures, we'll go through them right now. Match week 1. If they ever pull up, yeah. Here we go. So Crystal Palace Arsenal kicks everything off. I think that'll be an interesting game. Crystal Palace is
especially Crystal Palace at home too. That I think obviously we need to see what happens in the transfer window. But.
Yeah. I Palace has some pretty good players, Lees and Edouard, and I mean they do have some pretty talented attackers, and probably going to sign some players. I think they overachieved a little bit last year, maybe some positive going into the season. Arsenal had top 4 in their hands and then blew it. Really. They lost to Tottenham 3-0 with 10 men, whatever you can think. But then they went out on that, on that Monday and lost to Newcastle, and that was what really kind of tanked their season. But the Saturday matches, there's some there, Newcastle, Nottingham Forest, Everton, Chelsea, but interestingly, both Manchester teams play Sunday. United at home and West Ham and Manchester City. And then all these other fixtures, they'll be moved. But yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting how quickly the league put those. Or I'm sure the bookies knew, what the schedule was going to be. So they they had a little bit of a foresight there. Maybe they leaked it to them or something. But they had the odds up by the time I got on the show this morning, so I thought that was pretty interesting. But yeah, money never sleeps, I guess.
And they even have it up for the next week after there too, the August 13th or whatever. From what I'm seeing, at my book here, they got the whole slate. Now they say all the games are on Saturday, so obviously that's not true. They probably don't know like times and specifics there, but they definitely have odds up for the matchups. And see, like they got Arsenal playing Leicester in that second match day. Aston Villa and Everton, Brentford, Man United, Brighton, Newcastle, Chelsea, Tottenham. That's an interesting one. Liverpool, Crystal Palace. So yeah, some interesting ones there.
Yeah, it's pretty. There's some. It's far out. I mean, obviously, but there's. I was kind of looking because there's not a lot of action this weekend. There's not a lot of action. Sorry, today. I'm going to look at live and upcoming, or really tomorrow. I don't even know what day it is anymore. It's Thursday here, so we're going to look, I think, at the Brazil matches first here. The 5 o'clock match, Palmeiras and Atletico Go. The odds came down a little bit for that. It was minus 290. Now I see it at minus 265. Is there any news on that game?
I haven't seen any news so far, but that was one I think just Atletico Go announced they're playing pretty well. Like they're not playing like as well as Palmeiras is, but they've been playing not terribly lately. So that might have a little factor into it, but for news, I haven't really heard much on that one.
Yeah, it's sometimes, obviously these games, it doesn't take a lot to, I don't know how heavily bet they are. So if, some money comes in on Atletico Go or on, double chance, Atletico Go and draw, see that's actually the arrows down. So that line has come down a little bit. So
it could also be the highly condensed schedule because Palmeiras, they're going to play today, and then they got a really big, important match against Sao Paulo on the Monday, I believe. So that one, that might be affecting it. Like maybe they put out because what time is it? 4? The lineups might have just came out. That's probably what's affecting the line. They might be resting some players there. Hadn't had a chance to look at the specific lineups in that one. I was staying off that. I just want to watch what they do today because I had interest in that Monday game. But yeah, they might be definitely resting some players, which affected that line, and rightly so because they're at home for this one. Atletico Go is not that great, so they should be able to win this game no problem. Atletico Go will probably put up a fight, but they should win that one. I think they're going to struggle with Sao Paulo though. That should be what I think is a highly defensive match. Got two good teams going at each other, and from what I see with Sao Paulo right now, their defense is on a roll. So yeah, that's probably what's affecting that line in my opinion.
You see that Monday here, Sao Paulo plus 190, Palmeiras plus 138, the draw plus 220. So that's interesting. When you looked at these games over the next few days, where were you looking? Were you looking at Brazil? Which leagues were you looking at?
Yeah, so I haven't had a lot of time this week. I've looked at the Brazilian matches for this weekend. I was gonna do MLS next, but if you want to talk about some MLS, I could probably do it on the fly right now. I got a few pages open here, looking at some stats. But yeah, definitely the Brazil is where I was looking at. I had some. Okay, it's hard to find value this week though. Like I see see a lot of what I think are going to be defensive matches, and the lines are reflecting. So it's hard to find value.
There's not a lot, a lot of plus, Santos Bragantino plus 130, plus 210. I mean, there's a lot of plus money games, is it Cuiabá and Sierra?
Yeah. So Cuiabá is, they haven't been playing awful. They're not winning a lot of games, but their defense has been really good, especially when they're playing at home. And Sierra has actually been in very good form. They mainly wins and draws, but they're not conceding a lot either. So that was one I was looking at the under for, but I believe it's like minus 163 from what I'm seeing. So not a lot of value there. Another play I was looking at in that game is maybe Sierra to score the first goal, because if you look at Cuiabá, as well as on defense they're still conceding about a goal per match in their last little stretch, and they usually concede the first goal. I think in 5 of their last 6 matches they've done that. So if anything, I see it being a tight, maybe this one comes out to a draw. I do like the line on the draw. Now, as you can see, they're both plus 170. Yours has plus 175 there and plus 160. So very close lines. Definitely, I think the draws in play and the under. But I think if you're going to take a team to score, Sierra is probably going to score first in that one.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, these games are you see like, they got the 5 o'clock start, the kickoff for PARLAYS, and see if they posted the lineup yet. Still nothing. But there's nothing, and then until Saturday, 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock, a couple games, and then some Sunday, a lot of Sunday games, obviously, and then the big one on Monday. Sunday, we're looking at any Atletico Go Juventud. They got to play Thursday, Sunday. That's a tough. A lot of these teams had already played this week. There was Monday, Tuesday games, and then a lot of Wednesday games. So, like you said, they're playing a lot of games in a short amount of time. To see Atletico go at minus 107 after this game hasn't even kicked off yet. Is that interesting or?
Yeah, definitely. See, I would lean to Atletico Go, but at this, because Juventud, they're not playing great right now. But Atletico Go, they're not playing fantastically either. So I would stay off that one. I want to see what Atletico Go goes today, especially if they really put a hard effort in to try and get some points off Palmeiras. That might be one to stay off of, just because I don't know. They're an iffy team. I just don't trust that line at the minus 107 there. That's definitely not one that I want to have any part in.
So Foxy had Flamengo team total over 1.5 last night. Bragantino and Boca to win. I think that cashed. And then he had Cruzeiro team total over 1.5 today. Foxy's our resident South American soccer genius. Got to get him on here and talk about some of these like obscure leagues in South America. He's pretty good at some of those.
Well, he probably knows more about me, or more than me, about these leagues, just because you can watch the games, you can do all the research, but man, there's nothing the same like actually living in the atmosphere and knowing what's going on.
He says, I think, for us, like we get to, you can watch, which leagues do you have on there? You have Brazil, Argentina. I mean, do they show a lot of the leagues up there, or, only kind of the bigger ones?
So they don't really show much on actual cable TV. Everything basically in Canada is run through the app called DAZN. So but they carry most of the stuff. I will say that. So definitely that's the way to go, how I watch most of my stuff. But they have the games. They have the Brazilian games. I haven't really looked for Argentinian games or anything like that. But they have actually a few interesting European leagues as well, like just some of the smaller ones out in Europe.
Yeah.
I think they carry the Turkish league as well, which is a league I love.
We have the I have Fubo. So Fubo had, they had all the Nations League games, but they have the Turkish. I think BN has the Turkish league now, the French league, MLS starting next year. They signed a 10-year contract with Apple here, so they're going to be on Apple exclusively. ESPN Plus has everything.
Yeah.
So many
$1,000 a month.
Yeah, no, it's I don't have cable, but you end up, I bought Peacock and Paramount and this and ESPN, and it does add up, but there's not, I don't really watch a lot of TV, so
well, that's the way to go. Like cable's dead.
Yeah, exactly. Let me ask you, this is more like a strategy question, so like, this is. I think just because there's only 2 games tonight, they have these teams and then they have the teams listed again for like the weekend games.
Yeah.
If you see, I don't know if Wednesday, I don't know if last night they even had the weekend games listed because there's so many. Do you kind of, if you see value in these games, on the weekend, will you jump on it early, or do you really kind of want to wait to see like what happens in the Wednesday? Because the Premier League does that sometimes. Like they'll have the midweek games and then they'll have the weekend games listed too. But you kind of, do you want to see what happens first, or if you see value, are you jumping on that before you even see it, just because you're like, that's probably a pretty good bet there?
So I definitely want to see what happens first, because you never really know, right? Like especially
injuries.
Injuries, and especially with these condensed schedules. Like a lot of the times they're not going to roll the same team out for that next match. So you want to see who's playing in that. The odd time, I'm not saying never. So the rare time I will pounce on the weekend game, depending on how much I really like to bet. Like if I think you're getting value and there's no way that the match they're playing midweek or whatever is going to sway my decision on that. Absolutely. Like a lot of the time it'll mainly be with maybe like an over, and a team's been scoring a lot lately or conceding a lot of goals, right? So like, that'll be something I'll definitely jump on. Or maybe if you're just catching, a team like right around even money, and that line's going to get juiced and they're going to win because they're at home or something and they have a good situation just coming up. I'll want to jump on that. But other than that, I really do want to see, because a lot of these games can be really tricky, especially with the international stuff as we saw. But there's so much going on these days. There's so many of these extra tournaments now. They just added the Europa Conference League for like the European. So there's so much soccer, and the more competitions they add, the less these players are going to want to play. So I find it's very difficult to really know ahead of a game.
Yeah, that's we've had some people comment during the games. I know Bill McDonald, for example, has he said, oh man, I took this game and it's tough because you don't see the lineup. So I think soccer more than like, I mean, I guess for baseball, I don't even care. Like, I guess you could check the lineup before the game. I don't know if it matters because it's so much about pitching, but like soccer, I think is just so specific to that, where they like, you could see the lineup and you're like, man, the game's gonna, as soon as you see the lineup, the line moves. I don't think it does that so much in these other sports, obviously with injuries and basketball or whatever. Football, I think you have the injury report, so like people know. I think it's already kind of baked into the line, like hey, if Kyler Murray's not playing today, and then maybe if he does, the line moves later or whatever, but he's doubtful. You get that injury report 3 days beforehand, so you kind of know. I think with soccer it's not really like that, so it's tough. You have to wait to see the lineup. A lot of times we talk about this a day ahead of time, but I will wait till the day and an hour before and say, all right, here's the lineup. All right, we're good. So I just, I think, that's kind of your philosophy. I think, just listening to you as well. But I think sometimes you can get good value on games or overs. Maybe I think that's, your strategy with the over-unders. If you think, Manchester City is going to score 4 goals against Leeds this weekend, you're going to hammer that now. and doesn't matter who plays for Manchester City, all their anybody, the backups or whatever.
Because it's a depth thing too, right? Like some of these teams are just so loaded that like you could you could change the whole front three if you wanted, and there's so much talent there that they'll still score goals.
Yeah, and I think that sometimes that happens in. I think this year is going to be, just looking. I mean, you saw the Premier League schedule, and they're playing until November 14th, or November 12th. I don't know if they're going to play that weekend on Sunday or just going to play all Saturday games. It's only listed as whatever. They're getting on a plane and they're coming back and they're playing a full Boxing Day schedule, which there was reports they weren't going to do. They're playing Boxing Day, Monday the 26th, and then they're playing on the 31st, and then they're playing on the 2nd. 3 matches in a week back. But here's the crazy thing, right? They just announced today that the Carabao Cup 4th round is going to be December 20th and 21st. So some of these players are going to be deep into this tournament, quarterfinals, semifinals, and then have to come. I mean, obviously they're not going to play, but that's going to affect the lines for some of these games. I mean, it's just crazy. And I think you're going to see a lot of injuries this year.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And that's what I was talking about earlier with just the condensed schedule. Like these players don't want to play 4 games in a span of 10 days. Like it's too much on the body. These guys are running like 25 miles every game they play. They're 90 minutes up and down. So like it's just too much stress on the body. And I can definitely see, and going back to actually what you said about the baseball lineups, like I don't look at baseball lineups because unless it's like a really key like hitter, someone or like a slugger or something, like some of those bottom of the lineup guys, like they're interchangeable. And as you said, it's all a game of analytics and pitching. Really, if you have the right pitching matchup, then any batter can go up and hit the ball as long as you have a somewhat idea with the analytics. In soccer, I think it's completely different because not only does it matter about the talent on your lineup, but it also matters about the chemistry between these guys. You can't throw 2 guys that hate each other. They'll never pass the ball to each other, or just like they could get petty on the field that you don't know. I've seen teams just fall apart like that before. So it's a big chemistry thing too. I think definitely that affects soccer more than baseball, because baseball, like the lineup, you're just hitting against the pitcher. In soccer, it's a team sport. You got to pass the ball. You got to form an attack, come back and defend. It's all strategy. So I definitely think chemistry and talent is a big factor for soccer lineups over other sports.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Foxy just said, you noticed a lot of people betting on those Nations League games. I stayed away. Different lineup. No one takes it seriously. It's been a long season for players. Too many games. Basically echoing the same thing that you're saying. I mean, it's just, there's too many games. It's just these guys need a break. And there's not, they're not going to get a break this year. And then they're not going to get a break next year because the season's going to go a little bit, the season's going to go longer because of the tournament. And then, they're going to get a shortened summer because the league's not starting, they're not going to start late in 2023, maybe a week late or something like that. But, so they're going to be jammed up then. And then you got qualification for the Euros in 2024. It just like never ends with these teams. It's so crazy. All right. So let's see. What else do we have here? A lot of soccer. These leagues, some of these leagues, I was talking about this yesterday. It's just, I started looking at the I don't know if you look at Norway. I looked at Norway like a couple weeks ago, and it was like an absolute disaster. And, I just haven't gone back. I know some of these, Mold should win, and Bodo Glimt is good, but I don't know. I know there's probably some value in the league. I don't know if you do you look at any of those leagues or not really?
Norway's not really one I look at specifically, or Sweden, but Denmark is a league I look at. Okay. I do like the teams. I think there's a lot of, not obviously great teams, but I think there's a lot of quality teams in there. Like Copenhagen was one I really like. Yeah, there's a few other that I think are pretty good in there, but
teams like the teams that play in the Champions League and Europa League.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, right? Like those are the ones. It's easy because you can watch more of the games. You see how they match up against European competition, so it's easier to get an idea on them when they go back and play domestic leagues because you know how they've fared up. And sometimes you can even use that, like, oh, they put out their best lineup to try and win this Europa match, so they're going to get crushed in this next domestic league match because they're going to rest all of their players or something like that. And they're going up against another decent team in the league. I think another one in the Denmark was Midtjylland. I don't know how to pronounce it though. It's got
Midtjylland. That's right.
Yeah. All the D's and J's and T's and Y's in the middle there.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, when you start to look at, I don't know if the lines are up now, but this, I mean, it's. When was it? Wednesday, I think. Nope. Tuesday. These teams are like, I don't know where they are. That might be Gibraltar. I don't really look. I mean, these games are a little bit tough to kind of bet, but when you start coming up to these first round of games, and there's some Copa Libertadores matches coming up. I think it's the following week. That you start to see some of those teams. Bodo Glimt, Vilnius, Helsinki. I mean, Lech Poznan, who's been, Karabakh, obviously a big team.
Ludogorets, my Bulgarian studs, man. They dominate that league.
Yeah, Maribor, Shakhtar Sologorsk. I mean, CFR Cluj, Lincoln Red. These are all teams, the New Saints, Ferencváros, the FC Sheriff, who beat Real Madrid a couple years ago. I mean, these, it's the first round of the tournament. Malmo. I mean, it's the first round of the tournament, but these are teams that are good and that end up, starting in the first or second round of playoffs and make it all the way through. So, there starts to be some value in these games. Once again, it's still 2 weeks away. And then, you got the Copa Libertadores round of 16. But, we were talking about this the other day. I think it was Tuesday. There starts to be some of these games where you can say, all right, you know what? Like, I know these teams are good. I know this team is better than this team. They were in the Champions League last year. They were in the Europa League last year. You can start to bet on these games instead of maybe looking at the Estonian league and saying, I know, this team is good or whatever. Or whatever, bet, Vilnius or whatever against whoever. But, I think you you start getting some value. And then obviously as the Champions League moves on and you start to get some of the bigger teams in, into the, the third round, the fourth round, the playoffs, there gets to be some value in that. So, I pulled up the MLS here. I started to look at it. I know you said that, it's, this league is so crazy to me. Like they just play like so many, like it's 1 week they play like 50 Saturday games and then 3 Sunday games. And then the next week it's like 2 Saturday games and like 50 Sunday games. I think they'd spread it out a little bit more, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But do you see any kind of, this first game, Seattle Sounders, LAFC? I don't know if you see, I think LAFC is leading the league here. Do you see any kind of value early on, just not, knowing you haven't really broken it down too much?
So Seattle's a team I always love because they have such a rich history in the MLS. Them and my Toronto FC. If I had to say, I would probably say those are the 2 best teams, and you can throw the Galaxy in there. Those 2 just top 3, like overall in the MLS history. I think Seattle, Toronto, and LA Galaxy have a lot of history there. So Seattle's always a team I'm looking at. They're a high scoring team. So is LAFC. Seattle's going to be at home, so they're not going to lay down for this one. But Seattle, they never play well at the beginning of the year, and I think part of the reason is because they have all these CONCACAF matches mixed in, and I believe they advanced to the next round as well. So I don't know.
They just won. I mean, they won the title, so they're the defending. They won the first title since the format changed. And I think you look and you see LAFC 9 wins, 2 draws, 3 losses, and you see Seattle all the way down here 6-1-6. But like, all right, they won the Champions League, so like I think now they're going to start. You might start to see them kind of kick into gear, like you said.
Yeah, so definitely, I didn't even realize that was over, but yeah, definitely now that they have that out of the way, I think they're going to start focusing on the league. They got to start excelling. And LAFC, if you actually look at their away history, they're not the strongest team when playing away from home. Like, yeah, they win a lot of games, but they don't score a lot of goals. They maybe score 1 goal, and they try to win it defensively. So I think if they try to pull that strategy on a Seattle team that's on the ball, then the Sounders will come out here and they'll make them pay for it. So this could be like a 2-2. I could see it. I could see Seattle winning it 2-1. I could see LAFC winning it. So it's tough to pick a side there, but I would definitely lean to the over. I don't even know what the
2.5. I have 2.5 at -148. I have Seattle over 1.5 goals at -104, and LAFC over 1.5 goals at +150. So, 2-2. LAFC won 3-0 the last time they played. Sounders won 2-0 last time they played in Seattle. Those are the only 2 games of late that hasn't been both teams scoring. But the winning team has scored at least 2 goals. And for the last 5 games, there's 1-1-1 draws. So, I think if you look at the over 1.5 here for, if you think it's going to be a high scoring draw too, maybe you get both of them. But I think there's some pretty good value there.
Yeah, I would lean probably more towards the Seattle side on that one. Actually, if you look at Seattle's history now, I was just trying to pull it up. But yeah, they've scored 6 goals in their last 2 MLS matches. And already after winning the Champions League, you can see in there, and after the U.S. Open Cup match that they played, they have now won 4 of their last 5. So they're definitely on a roll for sure. And they're scoring, averaging about almost 2 goals per game, because there was one that they went scoreless in Colorado, but that was the only loss in that span. So yeah, definitely I could, if you want to pay the juice for the over, but it's probably better just to take the over 1.5 on Seattle, because if this game gets over, I definitely see Seattle being a big part of that, scoring 2 goals or more there.
I mean, they, on Tuesday night in that game against Vancouver that we talked about a little bit, they had over 2 goals in the first 28 minutes. So you can see, they're, like you said, I think they're starting to play now and really kind of focused on moving up the table. The other LA team plays Portland, who I think, maybe been struggling a little bit, maybe playing maybe where are they at here? 24th out of 28 teams in the league, just 3 wins in 15 matches. LA Galaxy 7 wins so far, and I think playing better. They're -143. And that's the next game on Saturday. Any kind of look at that game?
So I would lean probably to the Galaxy. I know it's a little steep, but that's not an awful price for them, -150. And they've been pretty dominant. Or, well, what are you getting there for that one?
-143.
Okay, yeah, so even better. But yeah, I definitely think they've been a very good team at home this year. So it's hard to see them losing. They're coming off a 4-1 win against Austin. So not awful. They do have 3 losses on the year, but no draws. So that's actually interesting.
And their halftime full-time bet is +155. So if you think they're going to jump out a little bit early in that game and go on to win, if you're going to take a -143, maybe throw a couple bucks on that, halftime, full-time, and see if you can get them to get the lead early. But it definitely, over 1.5 goals for Galaxy is -162. Over 1.5 goals for Portland is +205. So I don't think they think Portland is going to score a lot of goals here.
Yeah.
3-1 last time they played on April 3rd in Portland. The Galaxy won. The Galaxy won 2-1 and 4-1 last year in those 2 games. And then in May of 2021, Portland won 3-0 and then 5-2. So once again, the winning team here has scored 3-4, 3-5, and then 1 game was 2-1. So the winning team is scoring 2+ goals. So maybe you know, take a chance here on Galaxy. Over 2.5 goals is plus 205. Oof, that's not bad.
Is that really? Wow, that's interesting because the Galaxy have played their last two matches at home and they've scored. One was in a cup match, but the other was just an MLS match, and they scored 3 goals and 4 goals in those matches. So they've had 7 in their last 2 at home. They're at home again here. And they're going up against a Portland team that has lost their last 3, was trailing at halftime in every single game. So that halftime full time for the Galaxy looks even better now.
Yeah, plus 155 right here.
Yeah, and 1-0 to Inter Miami, 1-0 to Philly, and 2-1 to San Jose. They were trailing at each halftime.
About that, and then you can get. Let me see what this says. Galaxy to be winning at halftime plus 115, and then let me push this down. Over 1 goal in the first half is minus 200, so over 1.25. I think, it's interesting. I think when you kind of look, sometimes I'll just kind of go and look, down at some of these numbers. Halftime Galaxy plus 118.
That doesn't sound bad either.
LA Galaxy to score in the first half, minus 175. I don't really look at these time bets, but sometimes I'll just kind of go down here and start to look and say, all right, because when you look at these, go up to the top. When you look at this, minus 143, over 2.5 goals, minus 175. All right, well, why? All right, over 2.5 goals for the LA Galaxy plus 205. When you start to look at the actual, when they break down into the halves, well, if they think the Galaxy are going to score this amount of goals in the first half, maybe, if the Galaxy or LA Galaxy to score in the first half, minus 175. Well, if they're going to score 1 in the first half, minimum, now you just need 2 in the second half or whatever if you're going to go over 1.5. I think there's different kind of ways you can break down and look at some of these Galaxy minus 0.75 is minus 113. I think there's just different ways to kind of look and break it down to see if you can make some money on these games.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And Turkey's a great example of it because the over 2.5 we were seeing in a lot of those was minus 150, minus 140, but you were getting their over 2.5 at plus money. And we knew they were going to score all the goals to get that over. There's no way a team like Lithuania is going to score on the road in Turkey.
Yeah, and you can, I think sometimes in the Premier League, I'll do that. For a team like the over under in a game for Liverpool or Manchester City or I guess maybe Tottenham this year with all the players they're signing. You look at the 2.5 for the game, and it's whatever minus 150, just like this game, and then you look at the team total, and you're like, wait a second, it seems like they're gonna have 25% of the ball in the game. They're not scoring. If they think this game's going over, City's going to score these goals. It's going to be the City team total 2.5 over that's going to play, like you said. I mean, and I think you're always going to get better value with that. And it's almost like, you take a chance, and if it doesn't come in, say City only scores 2 goals. Well, you would have lost the over anyway because it was at 2.5. So it doesn't really matter. Either way, you're going to lose the bet. So you're almost better off taking a better odds, plus money odds, and taking a chance on the team you think is going to win the game anyway, and just hope that, they score the goals.
Yeah, and even another way to look at that is the opposite way. So if you really like the over in a game, but you don't think, I can't see either team really scoring 3 here. I think it's going to be kind of like a both teams effort. Sometimes you can get the both teams to score at a really good price. And hey, I've been screwed out of many overs I thought were going to go over, and they end in a 1-1 draw or something like
Mexico,
that.
Jamaica the other night, a perfect example. I think, I thought Mexico wins that game easily, but, Bill McDonald was on here saying both teams to score. I said, if you think it's going to be an over, it's probably both teams to score. Both teams score in these games. So, you get beat on the one, but, both teams to score came in. So, I think sometimes that might be the better way to go there.
Yeah, exactly.
Your Toronto team is getting a plus 750.
Okay, well, they're crap this year. I just said at like history of
Is
MLS.
Michael Bradley still playing?
Okay, very, very rich history. Actually, I don't even
Michael
know.
Bradley's still playing. I understand why they stink.
They've had a few people like
Yeah,
out the door. It's just like a lot of, I don't know, a lot of just issues with people not wanting to play and things like that. But
this Kaepernick comes on all the time and always talks about this Austin FC team. You know, I think it's just, you know, they're sixth in the table. You know, they're playing really well. They got plus 10 goal difference, 28 goals for, 18 goals against.
Michael Bradley did play, by the way. He was in the last match. Just wanted to say that.
Did they lose?
They won 3-2 to Chicago Fire.
Oof, man, the Fire must be terrible.
Yeah.
But you know, I think, you know, this Austin FC team, it's still like I still think people think this team. I don't know if the books think it, or maybe the books think that the people think it. Like, they don't get any of these. They don't get any respect in some of these games. And you know, that guy Kaepernick has come on and said, "Listen, take this team," because you see, you know, Montreal is right there with them. So I think maybe that's the difference. But you know, Montreal gives up a lot of goals. They've given up 26 goals in 14 games, and Austin FC scores a lot of goals. I think, you know, you see this team at +2. I've cashed like 3 different times on Austin FC at over +200 odds because, you know, Kaepernick says, "Listen, this is a good spot for him." You know, playing one of the Canadian teams? Have you kind of looked at this team? You know, Austin FC or draws -103, basically even money in this game, and these two teams are pretty even. You know, is that kind of a thing you've seen with them this year?
I have seen them as large numbers and then win a game straight up, even being at home. I've seen them win as +200s, and I think the reason is because this is only their second season in the league, so I don't think the books really know what to make of them quite yet, because they're kind of like, it's like they're an expansion team, but it's so tough to tell because it's not like when hockey or when the NHL brought in Vegas and Seattle. Like these teams are backed by people with money who go out and buy players. If they want a player on their team, they go buy the player from another team in Europe or something. So it's really tough to say, and I don't think maybe the books have a great handle on that specifically. Like Inter Miami, I think they actually gave a little bit too much respect because, they saw them go pick up like washed up Higuain and players like that. And Inter Miami's okay, but I wouldn't put them as like the books. I think the books were giving them too much respect, but give them some years. And absolutely, I think they'll turn into a great team because obviously they got David Beckham there backing them, and Ronaldo wants to come play for them eventually. So they're gonna bring in players just by the names that are there. But that's a team that I think needs a few years. Now, this Austin FC, I don't know too much about them because, like I said, it's their second season in. I know they were really hot to start the season. Now I can see they've lost about like 3 of their last 5 MLS matches with 1 win in that span. So they're not playing too hot. But Montreal is never a team like I've never really liked Montreal as a team. I used to like them when Drogba was there, but that was years ago. And as you said, like their defense, they let in a lot of goals. That's been a problem for years. They've been allowing goals, and like I just they seem to be playing in good form right now, but I think that could be a high scoring match because, as you said, Montreal lets in a lot of goals and Austin scores a lot of goals. So I definitely see that one has the potential to go over. I don't even know what the over is there.
Both teams, the score is -182. Over 2.5 goals is -186.
Unless the other issue here, because the game's in Montreal, maybe Austin's getting that line because they have unvaccinated players, but I'm not even too clear on what the rule is up here anymore. Like it's so like, I don't even know anymore. They change it like every week. But if that, because I think some players have, like, I know in baseball,
it's crazy.
In Ontario, you can't bring some players, or if you do want to bring in an unvaccinated player to play, they have to like bust it up. They can't take the plane, and then the teams just leave them behind because it's too much hassle in the end. So I don't know if that's what's going on here with the Montreal game, but I don't know. Honestly, Quebec's a different province, and they might have completely different rules.
basically, yeah. I used to go to the Formula One race up there. I mean, it's basically its own country, isn't it? Like in some parts.
They don't even speak English there. I went on there in a school trip once, and I had the guy behind me got so frustrated he had to order my sub at Subway because the lady working there couldn't understand me.
It's funny. I have a story. I took like 8 years of French. I never like when I go to Paris or whatever.
It's mandatory up here.
Yeah, like so I took it like and we went up there for I think it was 2000 or 2001. It was the second or third time we went, and we went to order, and like everybody ordered in English, and like I ordered in French. Like it was bad French, but like I got my I think it was like I got it through like. So, like, I got my order perfect, and theirs was all messed up. And I was just like, they were, like, laughing at me when I was butchering it. But, like, I got my food right because I think they said, like, I think they were like, yeah, this guy, at least he made an effort or something like that. So, like, I could, I could speak a little bit. Like, when I go to Paris, like, I can understand it when I'm in it. But, like, I mean, if you ask me, like, today to say something, I couldn't. But, like, when I'm there, I can do it. But, in the moment, but.
Yeah, and another thing, like you're right, they definitely are another country because so you guys have drinking, gambling age, whatever, 21. Up in Canada, sorry, what?
18 in Montreal, right?
Yeah, 18 in the whole province of Quebec, but it's 19 in the rest of Canada. So it's ridiculous because I could drive across the province border, and like I'm like in my 20s now, but this was before I could drive across the province border at 18, and that's what me and my friends would do during like Christmas and stuff like that. Take a train to Quebec and go party there, go to the club because you didn't have to wait another year.
We went to we went up a few times. For the first time we went, it was crazy, man. I brought like $200 and like came home with we were going out for like steak and lobster every night and going to like all these crazy clubs and stuff. And then like, it just was so cheap. I mean, nothing's cheap now because the world's so messed up, but like Montreal is one of my favorite cities to go to. It is, it's like, it's basically like a European city. I mean, it's basically like France. I mean, it's basically Paris.
Oh yeah, and honestly, I think it's all of Quebec because I've been to Quebec City too, and it's like it's not as nice as Montreal, but it's definitely like the same feel. Like, yeah, everything's so different over there. Even their dollar sign is on the wrong side.
Really?
Yeah, it's on the right, not the left. It's the French way. It's the French way.
I never noticed that.
I'm pretty sure. I always remembered learning it in school, and then when I went there, I was like, "Why?"
That's crazy. So, I mean, just real quickly, any of these, some of these other games aren't very good. Like Fire and DC United. I know the Fire's favored, but yeah,
DC is always a team I'm looking to go over, man. They concede so many goals and they score so many goals. Like right now, I think it's minus 134 I'm seeing for the over. So that's almost like a blind bet for me, especially with Chicago being at home. I know they'll be good for a goal. They're going to concede goals. This could be like a 2-2 draw. I don't know who's going to win it. But,
yeah, I mean, right now, the Fire over 1.5 is minus 114, and DC United over 1.5 is plus 200. So, and then you see, like on the table, the DC United's scored 17 goals and given up 23. Fire scored only 13 and given up 20. So yeah, it's definitely the DC United will both these teams are good for at least a goal.
Yeah, so, DC's last 4 matches, 4-1 loss, 2-2 draw, 2-0 loss, 2-2 draw.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so they, if they're gonna get something, they're gonna score some goals. So, yeah, and I don't know if any of these other games kind of look, jump off the page at you or anything.
San Jose is another one that like always over. Their scores are always ridiculous.
Yeah, look at this.
It's always like 3-3.
The last look at these last when Real Salt Lake plays San Jose, it's 4-3, 4-3, 2-1, 2-0, 5-2. So
the over is minus 154.
Yeah. The 7 goals in 3 of the 5 games. So that's, I mean, it's crazy. Let me see
And it's just San Jose. If you like look at their past few, it's always just like 3-3, 4-3, 3-2.
And they've scored 25 goals in 15 games and given up 32. So they always give up goals. But that's the crazy thing is here, like San Jose's over 1.5 is like plus 200. Like that's, to me, like, man, that's pretty good value right there. I mean, they score every time these two teams play, they score 5 goals.
Yeah, so they're coming off a 0-0 draw, but like look at these past matches: 3-2 loss in LAFC, 1-1 tie to Kansas City at home, 3-2 win to Portland at home, 3-3 draw in Vancouver, 2-2 draw in Seattle in a cup match. Like ridiculous. They're scoring and they're allowing.
Yeah, I mean that to me right there, this bet here over 1.5 goals for San Jose looks like a pretty decent value bet. And then let's see what the Asian line is. Asian line over 2.75 is minus 124. Over 3 is plus 108. So, I mean, you could really just bet the Asian line at minus 124 and get some decent value there. All right. So that's who you got. You got anything on the NBA tonight?
I don't even know anymore. I mean, I think the Celtics are going to win because they won a game 7, but like it's tough to even say.
I mean, I think you're probably right. But I don't know. I don't know if I would bet this game.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be stunned. I wouldn't be stunned if the Warriors won, but yeah, it's pretty. I think it's going to be an interesting.
I will be betting the hockey game though. I was on the Avs last night. I'll be on the Avs on Saturday. And I'm going to be on the Avs in Tampa Bay just because I said if the Lightning got past the Rangers, they'd get steamrolled by the Avs in 5 games. And I'm sticking to that. I just think the Avs are a faster team. They're going to be able to outskate Tampa. And all I heard before when Tampa had the 10-day layoff and was about to face the Rangers, all I heard was, oh, Tampa's got rest. Tampa's got rest. Tampa's got rest. And they got smacked twice by the Rangers. And all you heard before yesterday's game was Colorado's got rest. It's like it's a bad thing now. Personally, I think the Avalanche are a younger team, so rest doesn't affect them as much as it would affect a team like Tampa. One of the best teams in the NHL over the past few years on back-to-backs is the Pittsburgh Penguins, and that's because their team's like 40 years old. So it's because when you get older, your body, like once you get it going, you don't want to take a day off or it messes with the body. That's why I think like the Lightning, man, they get a few days of rest and then they don't want to get back up. Whereas the Avalanche, they could have 10 days off and they're probably itching to get back on the ice. And you saw it last night. Like they put a lot of pressure on Tampa. I know Tampa scored 2 fluky quick goals to come back like that, but I still think the Avalanche are the better team in that series.
Yeah, and I think that rest issue right now is kind of a moot point now because they got that win. Like they maybe, I mean, they jumped out to the early 3-1 lead and then they ended up holding on to win. So maybe they got kind of the stuff out. They didn't end up losing a game maybe that another team might have lost. So they win that, and I think now you'll see them maybe start to roll here. And you can get Colorado at plus 108 in the regular time line, 3-way line. Obviously, the money line is going to be a little bit minus 165. So, I don't know, you could lay that, but I might take a chance on the 3-way line. But
yeah, and I say like Avs in 5 games. So like, which game is Tampa going to win? I don't know. I would guess game 3 because I have a feeling if Colorado goes up 3-0, they have that killer instinct. They'll just end it. They've already swept 2 series in this playoff. So,
yeah, I think that's right. They probably do. Game 3 will be this one. The next game will be interesting, obviously, but I think there's a better chance the Avalanche blow them out, like you said, and then that's why I kind of like that 3-way line. And then game 3 is becomes the series. I mean, if the Avalanche win, it's a really quick series. If Tampa Bay wins, there's a chance the series goes a little bit longer. But then if they win, so bet my house on the Avalanche.
Well, I never bet your house on anything.
Don't bet your house on anything.
Never bet your house on anything.
Never bet your house.
But look, like a lot of people are pushing the Lightning, And I want to be out there. I want to push the Avalanche. I don't think they're getting enough love. I get the Lightning are the defending Stanley Cup champions, but I don't think it's the same team at all. And I think the Avalanche are just better, and the Lightning are going to see that. You can almost see by their faces. Like, they looked tired after the first period in that game.
Yeah, and they're, like you said, a younger, quicker team. Look, I see, I would tell you to take the three-way line, on Avalanche in this game, and don't look back. But I will not tell you to bet your house. So keep your house. Bet some cash. I got an idea. I don't know where you are, but if you're a new user for Caesars, you can wager up to $1,500 on your first bet. I mean, that's not, that's a house payment. But if you win, you get to keep it. If you lose, you get your free bet back. Video winners 15, and you don't have to bet 1,500. Like, it says wager up to 1,500. If you're comfortable, if you're not comfortable betting, like, I know they have these things, but like, if you're only comfortable betting $100 because that's all, they just bet what you have. Like, I always say that sometimes people, get these crazy offers and they're like, I'm going to bet 1,500. Well, if you don't have 1,500 to lose, don't bet it. Like, just bet like 100 or just bet 50, whatever it is. There's so many different offers. If you have it and you want to use it, that's different. But you just bet what you're comfortable. I don't know what you bet here. I bet $30 or $40 a game. I'm not a real big better. Like, I don't bet a lot of money on games. Like, sometimes if I love something, I'll crush it. But most of the time, if I'm live betting or something, $25, $30, I like my money too much. So
yeah, for me, it's 50 to 100, depending on how much I like.
Yeah,
100 would be a really nice game.
Yeah. Like, sometimes with the parlays, I'll do 50 and stuff and whatever, like the 3-team. But like, I just get mad when I lose. Like, if I lose like $100 parlay or something like that because of one, like the other night, the NRL, the fourth place is playing 16th, and you wake up and I'm like, man, can't wait to count my money, and then all of a sudden you're like, what the hell? And they lost 34. You're just like, thank God they didn't lose by like a point. I would have been so mad, but like, they just they got killed. What are you gonna do? So, but all right, so that's basically it. Make sure you're following all the shows. You got 6 hours of programming right now. Make sure you're liking, subscribing, and ringing the bell, because we're going to have more programming coming into the fall or into the late summer. Today we had the 9 o'clock show, the Premier League show, and then obviously we'll be doing some of that on Saturdays. So, all right, so for I am Plus Money, make sure you follow him on Twitter. He's got a lot of stuff on there, so make sure you're on there. So make sure you see us tomorrow. We'll be here from 4 to 5. Well, I will. Somebody's trying to call me during the show. What is it? They want a free pick off air. I don't know what to do. Just wait. Give me a couple minutes. All right. So see you tomorrow.